This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, and I've got the awesome electric duo with me here. I've got Liv and Patrick joining me. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Hey, awesome. So glad
it's
to be here.
It's so great to be on.
Fantastic. So, in case you don't know Liv and Patrick, they are creators, YouTube creators. They have a channel called The Electric Duo. They do great YouTube videos about EVs. And so I want to kind of talk about, the year in review essentially on EVs and what our thoughts are. And then some of the thoughts we have and predictions we have about CS specifically to EVs and car tech. Now, don't run away if you want to hear phone news. Obviously, we have some big news this week with Xiaomi's 17 Ultra. So we're going to cover that too. But I just wanted to focus a little bit on the electric vehicle side this week because we haven't talked about those in a while. So, folks, have you thought of the cars you drove this year or the car that you maybe didn't drive but aspired to drive in the EV space that were like your favorites, your muses?
Interestingly, we just had, I know, okay, so obviously the most recent thing is always the thing that stands out the most. So take this with a grain of salt. But in all honesty, the most recent car, either way, is kind of the best one for me, the Genesis GV60. We got to spend a week with it, the 2025 performance, and this was our first time spending time in one. And it's quirky, it's fun, it's performance, it's got a crystal ball.
Oh, yeah.
And loved it. This was our first time with one. So not just because it's the most recent. That's
okay.
Definitely top of my list, though. What about you, Patrick?
Yeah.
And I'll just say, like, Liv has been crushing on the GV60 for quite a while. We drove one a couple of years ago, but for like 20 minutes. So it was really cool to spend more time in it. Mine is sort of like, and people that know us, formerly as the Mach-E vlog. We still have a Mustang Mach-E. And over the summer, we got to play around in a Mustang Mach-E when we went to Mustang Mach-E rally when we went to Denver. And I still just love the rally so much. And I'll sort of extend that to the Ioniq 5 XRT. I love these like little bit of off-road ruggedness, and the rally, of course, is just like the ultimate little bit of dirt fun, not completely off-road crazy. But you can have a lot of fun on some dirt roads, just going sideways and having fun. And you don't care if you're first or last, you go sideways and you got to smile.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think the eGMP platform is definitely one of my favorites. Every car I've driven on that platform, that's, for those of you who don't know, that's Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, basically. They have a common 800-volt platform called E-GMP, and it's pretty damn great. Every car made on that platform is solid. Now, that does not include some cars, like the Kia Niro and the Hyundai, what is the other one? The Kona. Yeah, so those two are 400-volt architecture. They're also solid EVs, but they're not from the ground up EVs. They share their platform with gas cars. Though, this is interesting. Speaking of Genesis, the GV70 and I think the GV80 or the G80, their G without the V is their sedans. Their GVs are the SUVs. Those cars are interesting because they are a shared platform, but it's eGMP first, and then they added, and the way they did it is very unique. Like BMW for the i series, i4, i5, not the iX, they share platforms as well. They make basically a gas car and then adapt it to be EV, or they design from the ground up to be both. And it's compromised. You've sat in an i4, I'm sure. The packaging compared to like a Model 3 or like a Ioniq 6, which is eGMP, these are all sedans. Like they're all the same size roughly, but the BMW feels very intimate, which some people want. They want that cockpit feel. But to me, like when I want a little, like I'm not that big of a person, but I want a little more space. Like especially when I like cars that are small on the outside and massive on the inside, like, Tardis, right? So for me, the eGMP kind of brings that to the table. On the GV70, which I drove, I haven't driven any of the other that share platforms. The way they're doing it is really cool because they have everything above the floor pan is the same. So imagine you were to take a Sawzall and cut a GV70 right at the door sill, like right above it, like an inch or two where the A, B, and C pillars go up. That's kind of the difference between the gas and the electric version. The electric has a completely different bottom end that accommodates the battery pack. And the other one have like, a transmission tunnel and the whole thing for the exhaust and all, whatever those gas things are. I don't know, gas cars are weird. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make, I'm being facetious, but the point I'm trying to make is that they're the only ones who are doing it to that extreme. Like, I think BMW kind of designs space for the pack, but I think the floor is not that radically different. It's different, but not that radically different. And I think the Kona and the Nero are like that. They have a completely shared platform. So it's kind of a compromise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the GV70, that was like our favorite of 2024, and we just absolutely loved it. And we're like surprised in a good way of how good it is. And then we just were in an Ioniq 9 from Hyundai.
Yeah.
Another eGMP, and it's just fantastic. We took it to our the first Iona station that we went to, so 400 kilowatt charging. And I was literally just looking at it, some of the photos I took from that charging session. And we were at 60% state of charge and still charging at 200 plus kilowatts. It's just fantastic. And here's something that, because, I used to be sort of in this camp of like, yeah, well, there's still a lot of 150 kilowatt chargers out there. So eGMP doesn't make much difference.
Now
but
you know.
I learned, you put it in on 150 kilowatts and it's going to peg at like 150 kilowatts and stay there basically until 80%. Which is amazing for the charging curve to be able to do that. So, all of theirs are just fantastic. And I was sort of thinking about this the other day, and I'm not, just sort of the grand scheme of things, because everybody knows we're going through this giant like EV shakeup right now with the U.S. getting rid of the tax credit, but we're got these high tariffs on Chinese cars.
Don't worry, we're not allowed to have EVs anymore. Not allowed to have drones anymore either, as we're going to find out soon here in the news cycle.
But, and we all talk about like Japan, the Japan auto companies are sort of like, they keep on, kicking the ball down the road and doing more with hybrids. And it feels like, Korean cars or Hyundai Motor Group is just sort of like, you know what, we're going to take advantage of all of this. The U.S. auto industry is just sort of like, we'll just produce more Broncos. China's blocked from coming in. Japan is waiting with their hybrids. We're just going to build factories like in Georgia and surprise everybody with all of these great cars. And I think they're doing a lot of great products, and I'm excited to see more of them. And more variations. So it's really cool to see what they've been doing.
The topic of being excited about the future, I know we'll get to future products now, but there's something I'm extremely excited about with Kia, like the EV3. But you mentioned like wanting a little more room in the cabin. And that so stands out to me because that really is something that I love about the eGMP platform too, is how spacious all of them are. I'm an adaptive driver, so I'm an amputee. I'm missing my right leg and I drive with my left leg crossed over. And the Genesis GV60, the Ioniq 5, haven't spent much time in the Kia V6, but like all have this super spacious cabin. And then you, Patrick, thinking about like the BMW i4, where it's really more closed in, that totally is a vibe that you really enjoy. In my unique situation, I don't love that, but a lot of people really like that kind of more intimate cabin. But it's just so cool that we're getting more options. I wish that we got all the options that were out there. Like I'm literally green with envy at all the EVs that they have access to in Europe.
I know, it's amazing.
And I did love the compactness of the i4, but it was sort of like with a caveat of like, I love that feel when it's, Saturday morning, very early, and let's go to the canyons and we're going to, like, it feels like I'm in a cockpit and like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like this weekend, we're going to be driving up to Vegas. That's what I want room. I want to be able to spread out. And it goes back to, where we started this question is like our favorite EVs of 2025. And it's sort of, I'll just go ahead and say the Ioniq 5N. I love that car. It was so much fun. But would I want to pay the premium for it the extra money for it and then do it as a daily driver. And I don't know if I would, and it was there's some great things about it. It's so fun. The noises are actually fun for the most part.
The fig shifting is actually really cool. I mean, it's a one-trick pony in a way. Like, I don't see myself using it very often, but wow.
Yeah.
And if someone really misses that vibe, like the fact that you actually feel it a little, like if someone misses that, it's a great way to get it while still being electric and reaping all the benefits of that.
Yeah,
cool option.
It's sort of like the Hummer that we had last year or in 2024, but we were like, they are so fun. But then it's like, if I had to go and go into the dealer and sign the contract, I don't know if I could actually go through with it. But God, I really enjoyed the Ioniq 5N and just all the silliness of it in just the best way. And it's just super fast. Like it's put together so well. I really liked spending time in that. But you know how it goes. It's like you get these cars for about a week, and I always look at it as like on that day 7 or so. Am I like, oh man, I wish we had an extra day or an extra week? Or is it like, here's the keys. And that's, in the end, that's the way it was with the Ioniq 5N. I had a blast for the 7 days, but I was like, okay, here's the keys. I'm ready to have some normal EV fun.
And I love the XRT more.
Oh, yeah, right. I think for me, maybe wrapping up on EGMP, I think that Kia EV9 would be my pick on the 3-seat, 3-row thing. Like, I just like the design and the looks better. And I kind of like the packaging better. No, don't get me wrong. It's like, one is a 9 and the other one is like an 8.5 out of 10 or something. Like, it doesn't matter which one. If you get the Ioniq 9, you're winning. Like, it's a solid 3-row SUV as well. But for me, aesthetically and everything, I think it's Kia. Now,
100%.
On the Hyundai side, now that with the refresh of the Hyundai Ioniq 5, I would pick that over the EV6, I think. Primarily because, it's interesting because the Kia EV6 GT came out before the Ioniq 5N, and it didn't have, initially, it didn't have the shifting stuff. And then they added it, right, on the refresh. And then now they're kind of at parity in a way. But I kind of think I like the looks and the design of the Ioniq 5N or 5 in general, especially the refresh. Now that they've given us a 3-spoke steering wheel, which to me is like, I cannot do 2 spokes. That's one of the things about Lucid that drives me nuts. I don't know. I'm weird. I'm fickle like that. It's kind of like back to the i4 for a second. It's like, I don't mind the cockpit feel. And it's not that bothers me on the, and when I say the poor packaging, I mean, it's the transmission tunnel thing, the lack of space in the middle, lack of room for you to put stuff, the lack of frunk, the lack of like rear seat space, like because it's architected as a gas car. It has nothing to do with the cockpit feel. Because if you look at the Ioniq 5N, that's got much more of an enclosed cockpit feel than the regular Ioniq 5, which is kind of more like a bench seating setup, right? No, it's not a bench, but like, what I'm saying, it's got all that space between the 2 front seats where your feet are and stuff. To me, it's not the cockpit issue that I like that because I'm an enthusiast. I like fast cars. It's just more like the knowing that there's all this wasted space in the car, right?
That's
it's like
actually, I totally agree.
So an example of a car, an example of a car that I think did that really well, as I said, GV70, we mentioned it, also exists as a gas car, but does a pretty good job at packaging. There is a bit of transmission tunnel still, like some bit of a hump there, but it's not as bad. And then the other one, really, the one we started with, the GV60 Performance. What a great car. I think that if I wanted to stand out in the EGMP universe by having something that you don't see around too often, that has the same level of performance as an Ioniq 5N or, EV6 GT, I would definitely go for the GV60 because it's just it flies under the radar so much, right? And that kind of makes me happy, honestly. Like I dig it. I dig the fact that you have a car that has all the goodness of that platform. And then, of course, the globe, which a lot of people find really silly, and I still think it's cool. I hate people that on the comments or whatever, like on social media, like, well, what if it breaks? Do you know how many things can break in your car? Like, are you kidding me? This is a Korean company. All they do is electronics and small appliances, okay? Like, no, I know Hyundai doesn't actually make, but Hyundai and Samsung are intertwined and, they know how to make this stuff to be reliable. Does it need to exist? Is it superfluous? Is it a gimmick? Yes, of course. But let's have a bit of joy in our lives, okay? Like, you don't not buy a car because it has a shifter that could break because it's a sphere that rotates. Get the hell out of here, people. Like, get lost. Like, this is the stupidest excuse I've ever heard on a car that good overall, you know?
And that goes back to like, you know, and this is sort of the great thing about EVs just now, you know, is that it isn't just like, let's look at the black and white spec sheet and just pick whatever one meets our needs and has the best specs. But it is like, let's find things that put a smile on your face. And one that sort of like put a big smile on our face, didn't have great specs or anything, and is now being discontinued for 2026 is the ID Buzz. That thing, like just driving it, put a smile on my face. Parking it, put a smile on my face. We had it over Halloween and we parked it in front of our house and made it into like a 60s, 70s disco buzz. Everybody loved it. Like everybody was peering
but
inside.
Nobody will buy it. And
but nobody will buy it.
Because it's electric. And not only that, but I have to say, and this is the same problem I have with the Ioniq 5N, is range is crap. Range is an absolute disaster. Unlike, say, the Ioniq 9. Or the Kia EV9, they're pretty decent range. And I think the problem that EGMP still has is they need to solve the making a performance car that can go the distance. And I think this is the next generation. We're going to talk about these cars that are coming up is it. And I'm not just talking about expensive cars here. I'm talking about the BMW i3X. I'm talking about the Mercedes CLA, which I recently got to drive. We're talking about the... there's another one that came to mind. Well, that's a little more on the pricey side, but the Porsche Macan EV. Okay, all these cars, 800-volt architecture, more than 300 miles EPA, like more, even if you drive it hard, you know, and we're talking about all of them at 15 to 20 minutes, 10 to 80% charging at 800 volt, you know, some of them go up to 350, 360 kilowatt, right? Charging speeds. So I'm thinking, that's kind of where we're headed. That's where EGMP needs to graduate to next, right? It is a 5-year-old electric platform for Hyundai Kia here, okay? So it's getting long in the tooth. And then, you know, like I just had the Mach-E Rally. Phenomenal car. Would be one of my picks for the year. So Ioniq 5N is another one of my picks. Maybe GV60, kind of like co-pick. Maybe EV6 GT as well. They're all kind of in the same, you know, the same car essentially. But then I would pick the Mach-E Rally, but then I had to charge it and it's a freaking disaster compared to like the modern EVs, right? I love what Ford's doing with that car, but that car needs a refresh ASAP. And I have a feeling that with the current regime we have and political climate in this country, we're not going to get that refresh. They're going to let it linger. And then we're going to get, you know, speaking of another car that's being discontinued, that's driving me nuts to think it's going to be discontinued. And worse, be replaced with an E-Rev, is the F-150 Lightning. Like you're going to lose the frunk to put a freaking gas generator in that thing? Now, I get the part about making the battery smaller. You can now make 2 F-150s for the price of one. I get that. You know, but like, where are you going to put that engine? Because the frunk is what really makes, if they can find a way to keep the frunk 2/3 of the size and put some sort of little 4-cylinder in there. But you know, the F-150 driver is not going to want a 4-cylinder E-Rev. They're going to want like a V6 in there, and you're going to, at least, and then you're going to lose the entire frunk. Like, this is the stupidest decision. And discontinue the ID Buzz. I understand the business reason. I don't understand the business reason for the F-150 Lightning, isn't it? I know it doesn't sell a huge amount, but everybody who has one loves it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my favorite electric pickup, but I would absolutely live with one and have one in a heartbeat. It's a great car.
It's been really interesting because, like, of course, we follow a lot of the Ford stuff, and it's like when everybody heard about the F-150 Lightning being canceled, it was sort of like, Ford's, you know, they didn't make a great product and they didn't do this, and it was a dealership network and all of this. And I was like, yeah, but it was literally the best-selling electric pickup truck this year. And it's sort of like, if they're struggling, all the others are probably struggling. They're just not admitting it. But I think E-Rev, I get some of the business decision behind it, and I get, you know, why they went in that direction. You know, we've been sort of talking about too, is sort of like, it was like marketing genius to show like the F-150 Lightning prototype pull a train, and then Tesla's like, we're going to pull a spaceship. So then what did every YouTuber go and do? It's like, let's find 10,000 pounds of water to haul, and then complain that it only goes 100 miles, which is like, I get it. trucks need to be able to tow. But I just wish it would have been like, hey, you want to tow? Here's our diesel truck. Everybody else, look at what this thing can do, and sort of like separate it out. And that's where, like, in retrospect, I think if they would have had a Maverick or a Ranger size truck as the BEV, that would have been smarter, because people aren't taking their Maverick and like, can I pull a 10,000 pound trailer?
Yeah. And as an aside, and Liv, I want to ask you a question aside. As an aside, so we're talking small pickups right now. This is a great topic. So my aside is I borrowed the Maverick finally from the press fleet in Vancouver, actually. And because I heard so much good about it, and I'm not a pickup truck person, but I like smaller vehicles in general. So I'm like, to me, the truck the size of the Maverick is, in my belief, in my opinion, and I know nothing about pickups, so please take it with a grain of salt and laugh at me hysterically, audience. If you're like in Kansas and you're driving an F-250 right now, turbo diesel or something, and you're thinking I'm a complete moron, that's fine. But my take is nobody needs more than a Maverick as a pickup truck. Nobody does. It's the same as K-trucks. Most people just be happy with an electric K-truck right now. Like contractors even. Like there's more bedroom in that thing than... Now I realize you want back seats, you want the comfort. I get that. The K-truck's not going to give you that. But a Maverick will. It has the back seats, etc. But I was utterly disappointed with the driving experience of the Maverick because they gave me the hybrid. And not just the hybrid, the new all-wheel drive hybrid. And it's not that the all-wheel drive is bad. It's not that the hybrid is inherently bad. It worked. It's very fuel efficient. But the driving experience is a freaking terrible experience. What I would have liked is this to be a full EV or even better, because this is actually practically totally feasible today. In that platform, they could make one tomorrow. Gasoline, no hybrid, or maybe start-stop. 5-speed manual, 6-speed manual, 4-cylinder, go. That would be perfect for that truck. That hybrid powertrain is a freaking nightmare. It drives like crap. There is no power. Everything is delayed reaction. You press on a pedal, nothing happens for 5 freaking minutes. And this is how I feel every time I drive a hybrid, particularly the pure gas cars like Miata, no problem at all, right? I mean, the Miata is a sports car and it's a manual. If you buy an automatic Miata, I'm judging you. I'm sorry. But I don't get it. Like, I'm like, what? Why is it such a... And I think it's because you and I, all of 3 of us, are so used to EVs that we can't handle it anymore. You know, like, and I loved the Maverick itself, the packaging of it, but I wanted it to be an EV. So that brings me to the question for Liv. That Ford EV, the small truck that they made such a dog and pony show about earlier this year. You guys went to see it, right? And live in person. Do you think that's actually happening now with this regime and the current political and economic climate? I don't believe it. I think they're going to drop the Mach-E next because it needs a refresh, and that's going to be too expensive right now.
I think it's certainly happening. I wish we could say that we saw it. No. We went to the announcement.
That's what I meant.
People, yeah. Some people have seen it. Some of the people who have seen it were there, and we actually like jumped on them immediately and asked them a lot of questions and didn't get answers, but there were big smiles. I mean, I think it's coming. We've heard that they are still committed to the Mach-E, and they're investing a lot in this, and it is the future, and they have to do this, or they're going to be like 20 years behind the rest of the world.
I feel like it's kind of too late in some ways. Like they're already way behind all the U.S. manufacturers. I took the Challenger, whatever that's called now. Which one is the EV one? The electric one, Challenger Daytona. The biggest piece of junk I have ever driven as an EV, an absolute nightmare of an EV. And hey, I hate to say it, the Wagoneer S, which is based on the same platform, isn't much better. Mostly because they don't know how to, it's like a Gen 0 platform. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not even Gen 1. Like, it feels like they don't know what they're doing. And you know how they could rescue that car? Inherently, it's fine. It's an EV, come on. But they could totally rescue that car with 2 things. Lower the price a bit. It's way too much. Number 2, put the fake gear changes in it.
Yeah.
Like, it has the sound. That's fine. That's exciting. I can see how some people are jazzed up about that. But then you're driving on the highway and it's just droning because you have no gear shift. So it's like, ah, and you're like, what? Okay, so the sound was great when I started the car, and now the car is droning on this road trip to LA, from San Francisco, and I'm dying here because I had to turn this off. Why not make it so that you can digitally change the pitch of the sound, or have fake gears with it, like the Ioniq 5N? Like, just do that. Then I can actually have fun on the freeway on the most boring part of I-5 from, SF to LA, where I can go like, okay, I'm going to pass this guy, downshift a couple, in quotes. That would save it, at least, because it's a crappy EV to start with. I think we're too late. And if the American car makers don't commit to making more EVs like hardcore, because we can't just have one EV, Ford, not just one, the Mach-E. Like, we need more. GM's doing it right.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. They have to make them more affordable. And I know Patrick is really involved in this, and he has a lot to share, but like, really the biggest key is making these more affordable. And that's what Ford is doing. That's what GM is doing with the Bolt coming back, hopefully permanently, is that we have this wave now of more affordable EVs, and everything is okay when you pay less for it, right? So like, we know that the speed at which the Mach-E charges is fine for us. And like 150 kilowatts is a fine charging speed if you pay less for it, right? Like, if it's a more accessible thing, like if you have to spend $70,000 on something or more, then you have higher expectations. What were you going to say, Patrick?
Just like, because we were out there for the Model T moment, as Ford called it, and we saw the Lightning getting canceled, and we were very worried about this new EV platform. I still, they're still making progress towards doing that. They just made their last Ford Escape at the Louisville assembly plant.
Okay.
So they are now getting ready to start retooling it for this new platform. But there's basically a very tight rope that they have to balance on to pull this off, because they have to get the battery supply right, which I think they have that at their Michigan plant. They're redoing their assembly process to reduce supposedly like parts by like, I forget what percent, maybe 40%, 40% less connectors, like miles less cabling.
Yeah.
And doing what everybody's saying, they're mimicking the Tesla unbox method, but Tesla has not actually done the unbox yet.
They haven't actually yet.
Ford may be the first one to pull it off if they actually go into production in 2027. So they're going to try to they're calling it an assembly tree, where they're going to basically build the front of the car, the rear of the car, and the middle of the car, and then just like pull it all together at the end. So that's like huge. They also have to do their zonal architecture that like Rivian and VW are
and Tesla, who started it, and all the Chinese, and Polestar and Volvo and everyone else.
And they also actually have to have very good computing power to handle all of this. So it's sort of like, and then of course the EV motors have to be, it has
efficient,
to be tuned and efficient. And the car has to be aero, and it has to be cheap. So like, I'm running out of fingers of like how many things they have to get right. And really the scary part to me is like, if they don't get all of them right, then it all just falls apart.
Exactly.
And if they pull it off, it could be amazing. And they keep talking about the EV truck. And I'll just say, like, I've posted some things on LinkedIn and Threads and other places, and like Ford people will go like, we can't wait to see the new vehicles on this platform. and I keep noting it because like, I don't want to say too much and even saying this out loud because they keep on talking about the EV truck publicly, but then like they'll reply and they'll say vehicles. And I'm like, wait a second. An EV truck is an EV truck. Vehicles means there could be other things coming at the same time. And Jim Farley has also talked about the whole point of this new platform is to have multiple top hats or multiple vehicle styles on one platform in one facility. So I'm like, I'm still hoping that all of a sudden we'll have a surprise announcement by Ford at the end of 2026. It's like, here's the EV truck and one more thing, and here's a revamped Mach-E or a new Escape or something like that on this new platform. But if they don't do all of that, like, this is a lot of hopeful, wishful thinking, just because it's like, I like rooting for our, American brands. But if they don't do that, it's like I think it's a do or die moment for Ford. If they don't pull that off, at some point, that diesel, F-250 Super Duty is going to stop paying the bills.
Yeah, I think that my biggest fear is I'm not seeing, Ford went out the gate with the F-150 Lightning and the Mach-E, and that was 5 years ago now, 4 years ago, whatever. It was great. But these are Gen 1 products. I want to see the Gen 2 stuff. And I really, really hope, and I think this would make sense, and I really hope it's the case. They cannot create this affordable pickup on a platform that can't be used for something else. This has to be a platform. There has to be like EGMP. There has to be something that can scale up to luxury cars on the Lincoln side. Like this has to be the thing, right? So they, as you said, they can't get it wrong. I'm hoping, but GM's doing it. Ultium, whatever you want to call it, is old, but it keeps getting updated, and they're getting to their Gen 2 very quickly. They're Gen 1.5, I feel like, right now. The Bolt is a good example of how to do it right, kind of recycle something you have and update it. Even the Equinox, you guys have an Equinox, is freaking great for the money, right? It's affordable. And so that's my point. Like Stellantis is a lost cause. Forget it. But Ford, I don't want Ford to fall off the cliff because their EVs have been so good. It's just that when the Mach-E and the F-150 came out, the Lightning, they should have just started working on the second gen already. Like it seems like they did what BMW did with the i3 years ago, where they did something incredible and then they paused. And you can't pause, especially back in 4 years ago. There was no reason to pause. The Chinese were coming. Tesla was the king of the hill at the time, at least in North America. We had, a government that was supportive of EVs. Like, what happened there? Why did they pause? And GM didn't pause. GM had some serious hiccups getting started. I had dismissed them with the whole Blazer EV fiasco early on. I was like, they're lost. And then they came back so hard. I want to talk about their platforms right now because we've talked about our favorite cars. So Mach-E Rally definitely for me was the GT in general, but man, I fell in love with the Rally. So little things like those wheels, the wing, the front fog lights, it's such a delightful freaking car. And I didn't even go that hardcore off-road or do rallying with it. I didn't have time, but man.
It makes every dirt parking lot fun.
Yes, I did go to one of the natural parks and did a bit of driving on the gravel roads with it. It was great. Look, so of course I'm an enthusiast. So Ioniq EGMP we've talked about. Ioniq 5N would be my pick there. You got the Mach-E, so you can start to see a pattern here. So GM, let's talk about some of their cars real quick. I think for me the ones that stand out this year are a lot of them, but Cadillac in particular. I think that the Optic is really quite affordable for entry-level luxury, competes well with cars like Model Y, for example, I think, which is arguably less well-made, even though the new version is a big improvement. The point I'm making is that I think they have the tech stack pretty much sorted. Super Cruise is great. But by the way, Blue Cruise is great on Ford, and EGMP's ADAS still needs some work. They're not... Don't pick an EGMP car if you really care about ADAS, especially solid level 2 plus ADAS. But yeah, GM's doing a good job. So I think for me, the ones that stood out were the Cadillac Escalade IQ. It's totally not my kind of car. It's way too big. But man, I felt like I was at the top of the world in that car. I just was like, I get it now. I get the Escalade now. I never got it as a V8 gas car, but I get it as an EV. All the room, all the power, I'm on top of the world, get out of my way, truck, yeah, but in an EV. I think of all the big EVs, like Silverado EVs that GM makes, Silverado, Sierra. The Sierra is probably my pick for the pickup truck on the GM side. The Hummer is ridiculous. I mean, it's cool, but not. I think the one that's super understated and cool and ridiculous and has that range and all that, if you want it, it's the Cadillac Escalade IQ. That thing is just, I could see myself driving to New York tomorrow with that thing. Just go. You don't have to think about it. It's and bring 7 friends with me. Insane.
We haven't spent time in one yet. But I think something interesting. So we try to test out hybrids, and like you shared earlier, it's an inferior experience. It's frustrating. It just feels like the worst of both worlds. And so there's something about the EV experience that feels premium or luxury. Like the experience of an EV is inherently a more luxurious experience because of the silence, because of the lack of noise and oil and fuss and all that, which some people love. But like vibration, all of that, like it's an upgraded experience.
The instantaneous response of everything.
All of it is so upgraded. So one, that becomes a luxury that you get used to. So it's really hard to go back to anything that has combustion, though we haven't really tried pure gas cars much since we've been doing EVs, and maybe we should instead of hybrids, which just feel inferior. But when you put electric on a vehicle that is more premium, it like immediately becomes more premium as well, just from being electric.
Generally, the price tag matches, unfortunately, especially when you have a
unfortunately
200 kilowatt hour battery in there, or whatever the frick they put in the Escalade.
But as you mentioned, and I'll let Liv talk about the Equinox, because like we have the Equinox, and we literally were going for most bang for our buck, and it was ridiculous. Like we did a basically all-in lease for $5,000, not $5,000 down.
The whole thing, $5,000.
The whole thing for 2 years for $5,000.
You can't go wrong with that.
And then include tax and tags.
Yeah.
Well, not tax, but tax.
Yeah.
But Liv just loves it. I love driving it. We drive it so much around town.
Well, and it's I wouldn't say it's my favorite vehicle ever. There were other vehicles that I would have picked. Of course, I would take a GV60, but this was the most affordable vehicle, and it's lovely and it's enough, right?
Yeah.
It's more than enough, and there's some things about it that I've truly gotten addicted to that GM is doing a fabulous job with. And I think for me, the GM win for the year is for sure the Equinox EV, because of the amount of people that I've seen who have gotten this as their first vehicle, the amount of people that comment on our videos that are like, we have our first EV and it's an Equinox too, because of that pricing accessibility. And suddenly they have something that has, the power, the silence, that has Super Cruise if you opt for it, which we didn't since we were trying to keep the price down. But like, it gives you that incredible EV experience with an accessible price tag. That's what it is accessible. The only thing that I wish for GM is that they would bring back CarPlay and Android Auto, because that's a real bummer.
I don't miss it.
I don't miss it, but other people do. And I think any barrier to entry is a bummer.
I agree that is, but I think that people need to move on. Projection is not the way to go. It's not the future. If you use a Tesla, a Rivian, a Chinese EV, you know this. And GM's not the best version of that. They still need to work on their system. But Android Automotive is really solid. And I think that people underestimate how good it can be. I think the biggest problem, and I think this is why there's been rumors of Tesla adding CarPlay, is that if you're an Android user like we all are, it's a lot easier because you're familiar with it and everything works. You log into your account, you're good to go. You get your messages and everything. But if you're an Apple person, it's a challenge because you don't get that deep integration. Tesla does it by having their app do all the heavy lifting, right? It communicates between the phone and the car and acts as a communication conduit with all your text messages and whatever else. But that's because Tesla did the work, right? Nobody else has done the work. Rivian has barely done the work on that side. So that's why CarPlay can be a big deal breaker for people. I think way more than Android Auto, to be frank, at least on this particular vehicle. For me, the star of the Ultium platform, of course, the Escalade IQ is like, oh yeah. But the one that really got me excited more, the Blazer SS, the performance version. I hate the name. Like, seriously, I know it's a legacy name, but oof. In these times, this is a hard name to have. When the special police is out there all the time doing its thing. So I think that was a solid. When I first drove it, I was kind of like, And then I drove it for a week and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, this is good. This is not Ioniq 5N. It's not Mach-E Rally, but it's solid. It's up there. But I think the Optic V, if I haven't driven it, I've only driven the regular Optic, and I was really impressed with the Optic. I think the Optic V would hit the spot. The Lyric V was pretty damn great as well for me. I did not like the regular Lyric, not because it's a bad EV, because it's too soft and too floaty and too Cadillac, right? That's what people want. And I think that works for the IQ really well, the Escalade, but not for what I'm looking for. So Lyric V fixed that. Like, wow, is it sporty? Haha. So the Optic V should be my little thing. But my biggest thing about Cadillac, and that's why I want to give Cadillac the love on the Ultium platform from GM, is, last year I drove the Silverado. It was a great car as well, but it's because Dolby Atmos. And I know, this is a tech podcast. Like, Mercedes has it too, but man, Dolby Atmos on Cadillacs. And this is another case for not having CarPlay and Android Auto. You can't do it with CarPlay and Android Auto. You need to have the native system for that. In their case, they support it on Amazon Music right now. It's coming to support Apple Music as well. Mercedes does it on Apple Music, again, only with their built-in system on their new cars. So, for me, this is another thing. Like, as somebody who's a bit of an audiophile, like a closet audiophile, I don't want to really be labeled as that because I don't like to spend the money on the stuff. But I do appreciate good audio, and I do appreciate that Cadillac is really delivering that experience in their cars, even with the Optic, And then with Cadillac, you get Super Cruise no matter what, right? Because you pay a little more. So, we've kind of talked about that. I want to kind of maybe rapid fire through the other cars that you have loved. And for me, there's a lot of Mercedes in there. And more recent Mercedes. I think that the Gen 1 cars, like, which of all the EQ cars, EQS, EQE, were solid in some ways, but they weren't quite there yet. Especially the styling and, that hyperscreen was a little too much. And, the tech wasn't quite there. But the CLA that I just drove, OMG, and the GLC that I saw but didn't drive, it is coming, the EV version, OMG. Like, these cars have more than 300-mile range, have more than 4 miles per kilowatt EPA. Like, they are super efficient. Drag coefficient on CLA is 0.21, which is insane for a small sedan. Super great range, 350 kilowatt charging, 800 volt architecture, super fast and responsive infotainment with CarPlay and Android Auto, but native super good. Tons of screens, tons of tech, incredibly good ADAS. Not maybe as good as Super Cruise or Blue Cruise or FSD, but pretty damn great. Definitely autopilot worthy. And it starts at $48K, guys. For a Mercedes, it has the build quality, the fit and finish, the materials. Now, that's the rear-wheel drive model. There is an all-wheel drive model. It's only $1,500 more starting. So,
oh wow,
yeah, and that one goes 0 to 60 in 4 something seconds. So it's performance too. There's going to be an AMG version, of course, and that's going to be the one for me. But I don't really want a sedan. I want the shooting brake they sell in Europe of that car. We're not going to get it. But here's the thing: like, Mercedes is getting it. And that's what I'm worried about Ford. Mercedes is coming out with their Gen 2 platform. It underpins a whole bunch of cars. They have 40 models or something coming up. And it's going to kick serious butt. And I drove it, and oh my God, it drives well. I only drove the rear-wheel drive. They didn't have any of the other cars. The hybrid is coming. I'm saying right now, right off the hybrid, forget it. They're just making it to be compliant and have a car that they can... It is a shared platform, but it was EV first, this one. So I think they did it right. There's a frunk, first frunk in a Mercedes. It's huge. It's like not Lucid huge, but it's bigger than definitely anything in the Mach-E and the EGMB cars, which, by the way, EGMB cars, the frunk, you're kind of like, you're pushing the frunk here. Like, I don't want like something that is big enough to put a laptop in. Anyway, that I want something that I can put a rollie in, and that is it. You can put a rollie in the CLA frunk, which is like a small rollie, but wow. Okay. I was really impressed with that car. It just needs to be a wagon. It just needs to be that. And that's where the GLC comes in. I think the GLC, being a small compact SUV, is going to do all of that and do it even better. So I'm excited about that car. And that's basically all I have for Mercedes, because their old cars are fine, but but then I also have BMW, honorable mention. Of course, I haven't driven it yet. The iX3. It's pretty great from what I saw, the tech and all that set in it. I feel it's still a little too Baroque, kind of like the EQ cars were. like Baroque, as in a little overly decorated, a little overly complicated. The Germans have this problem with their tech. They don't know how to make it like all we want. And I keep saying is, and Mach-E does it right. And Hyundai does it okay. Like I think EGMP cars are all right. They're not the best at that, but like Tesla does it well. Rivian does it well. Lucid does it okay. Ford does it well. It should be faster. Like there's a lot of software hiccups in the Mach-E. Like you can tell it's an older processor. It needs to be upgraded. We want an iPad in the middle of the car, okay? Like we don't care if it's pretty or decorated or fancy. It just needs to work and be fast and be few clicks and few touches and few down menus. It's so intuitive on the Mach-E. It's so intuitive on Tesla. It's so intuitive on Rivian. That's what we need. It's not so great on EGMP and Kias and stuff. Not so great on GM still. And Mercedes CLA is definitely better than what they've done in the past. But I don't feel like BMW is there with the iX3. And I'm worried about that, to be honest, because that's a tough one. Of course, there's Android Auto and CarPlay, right? But I have hope for BMW because from everybody that's driven it, it's like the CLA. It's amazing to drive. Like it's incredibly good platform. And it's got like all the 800 volt fast charging, super good range efficiency, all the stuff we want, right? So, but speaking of Mercedes, before we wrap up that brand, I got to drive the G-Wagon electric. And again, I never got the G-Wagon before. I was never interested in the G-Wagon when it was a V8 or inline six. But as soon as it became an EV, OMG, I wanted it so bad. I got in that car and I was like, yep, I feel like the boss now. It's kind of like the Escalade IQ, but in a different way because it's much smaller. It's like so good. Of course, again, it's like Ioniq 5N, range, absolute disaster. This is a Gen 1 EV, right, in terms of tech. Like, oh my God, though. Oh my God. I love that car. And I'm sorry, if you're buying a G-Wagon and you're buying the V8 because it makes the noise, you are so wrong. You're getting the wrong car. Get the electric one. It is absolutely the one to get.
And it looks so cool. Like like for such a retro looking like platform and car, the G-Wagon, you think of it as like old and like old design.
Nope.
But like you flip that EV switch and it like with the new like headlights and everything, and it's like this.
The handling improves immediately because you have that low center of mass. You know, the ride is better, the performance is better. You get better off-road performance, quad motor, tank turn. Like, I mean, come on, and you know they have synthetic noise, which is not great, but you know whatever. I turn the noise off. I'm sorry, I'm an EV purist. You're in an EV, you don't need noise, okay? Like, who cares? Wow, I don't know how fast I'm going. Look at your freaking speedometer. It's like right there. You get a special screen for it even. Like,
and you're driving a G-Wagon. You're not going to get pulled over, but that's another topic.
100%. No, I think the G-Wagon was really exciting in that sense. I get it.
I have to throw something back to the iX3 quickly. The panoramic vision display. Now, by the way, I love the Mercedes EQ line, the EQS Hyperscreen.
You do?
But I think that the panoramic vision display on the iX3 is really cool. And I think they're doing well with that. Like it looks awesome in person.
I think
you can customize it.
But I feel like the user experience on the main screen is still not too iPad-like enough. It's not straightforward. You can't sit a person there as it's like getting this as a rental, which will never happen. But my point is, you know, I'm saying that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's why people like CarPlay and Android Auto. It's familiar to them. It's an iPad-like experience. And that's why a Tesla is so easy to pick up. That's why I think the Mach-E is so easy to pick up. You know,
it's very intuitive.
Yeah. And that's why the Polestars and Volvos are so easy to pick up. Like you literally do not have to drill down any menus to get anything on a Polestar or Volvo electric car. Like, you know, and so maybe we switch gears to those because one of my favorite cars of the year, Polestar 4 and Volvo EX30. Those two cars, absolutely amazing.
I love both of those. Cars. One the so EX30 bad. Was the one where the software let me down. So like to get into performance, it's like 3 clicks, very buried as you're driving to try to get into performance mode on a performance
Oh, it's so
car.
full of bugs. They need to fix that. And I hope they got the message, but I don't know. The Polestar though, Polestar 4, really well sorted,
Lovely.
I thought.
And the
and
software
you're right,
was
very
great.
intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And it's one of those things where, you know, not everybody will notice it right off the bat, but like even in the Mach-E, like you go into settings and you're like scrolling and you're trying to scroll, but you turn a switch on by accident because you're trying to scroll. those are the type of things that bug me, because when you're in a moving car, and you probably shouldn't be doing these type of settings when you're driving, but whatever. But Polestar, they were very clear about like, we're going to make it so it's like a tap, and you're going to have like big little areas so that like as you're going down the road and your finger is bouncing and you're trying to tap on it, you're going to hit it. You're not going to be like, I got to flip a little toggle that's like 1 inch by 1 inch. It's going to be a big area, and it just felt very well laid out. And I love driving the Polestar 4. Liv prefers the Polestar 3, which is odd because she usually is like whatever is smaller is better. But
well, because the cabin's
there's more
open.
space.
Yeah, it's more spacious, which surprised me too. But the Polestar 4 was lovely to drive. Like, it was a very responsive, smooth, just comfortable drive. And like you said, their interface is really great. I think the EX30, I love the aesthetics of it so much.
It's so great.
The experience, the interface made me so sad that I think it's why the GV60 was even better for me, is it was that little nimble car.
Objectively,
that I was hoping
the
for.
EX30 software is broken and needs a lot of love. Now, I haven't driven it since February, March, so it's possible that's been fixed now. I don't really follow the forums that intimately, but I know there's a lot of complaining out there, especially also with the EX90, which is a sister to the Polestar 3. The Polestar 3 seemed to be a little better, but I did have bugs on the Polestar 3 when I had it as well. I think the Polestar 4 is going to be the big deal, is I'm taking it to Vegas. This is my Vegas official Mobile Tech Podcast car. So we're getting it on Friday and driving it to Vegas, then driving to Palm Springs to chill out by the pool for a few days and then coming back. And so I will let you know how I feel about the Polestar 4 after spending more than a few hours with it, which is what I've done in Austin, Texas earlier this year. You can read my story on Tech Radar. Actually, it's on Tom's Guide, sister sites. But my point is, those two are Chinese EVs. They are essentially Geely EVs. Now, of course, they're manufactured Belgium for the EX30, because they have a plant there, and it's easier for the US, and South Korea for the Polestar 4. But again, because they have a plant there. But the EX90, and the Polestar 3 are manufactured in the US. So that's pretty cool on the same assembly line. But Chinese EVs, the software and the hardware, like in terms of tech, is always going to be solid. The ADAS, I don't know. I felt that the EX30 ADAS was solid, but too nanny for me, too Volvo. And I think, again, this is a software issue. They could tone it down. The Polestar 4, I was fine, but I didn't drive it long enough on the freeway to really get a good feel for it. I have a feeling, and this is my gut, just overall, I need more wheel time, is that these are on match with the EGMP cars. They're okay, but they're not great ADAS systems.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Geely, the parent company, Geely, whatever they're called, have a good ADAS system that's coming, but we're kind of getting, we're getting their leftovers here. This is not the latest. Like, if you want the latest in that Polestar 4 format, go get a Zeekr, 001. That's like 800 volt, especially the performance model, the one that Kyle drove, like that's where they're at. And they have like LiDAR on that thing and like ADAS madness. That I'm sure is pretty solid. But I have to give props to Geely, Volvo, Polestar here for making my year a good one in terms of EVs. So I think that's it for me. Like, I don't know if I had 5 in there, but like, of course there's Lucid. Every time I get behind the wheel of a Lucid, I'm freaking smiling, like, I'm not sure how I feel about the Gravity. I think it's, as a package, it's a great car. There's no doubt. I think that I don't like that 2-spoke steering wheel that's squircle. And it's, also, the dash is much higher and the cowl is higher, and that they move the screen higher. I don't like that. I like cars like the Model 3 or like the Mach-E, where you get in and you put the seat as low as possible. And with my 5'9" stature, I can see right over the hood. I can see everything. I get great visibility. That's how my litmus test works. And with the CLA, by the way, that's the first Mercedes I've sat in forever where I could do that. The cowl is nice and low. Everything is like down there, and the Lucid Air is like that. And why the hell did they break that in the Gravity? Like, that is to me, ergonomics. People don't talk about ergonomics enough. Like, for those of us who are enthusiast drivers, Porsche still has the best ergonomics in Honda in the world. Like, every time I get in a Honda or a Porsche, I'm like, yep. Absolutely. This is it. You nailed it. My sight lines are perfect. Everything is exactly where I need it when I touch it. Like, how is it that and nobody else can do that? Like, it's basic stuff. Like, don't get it wrong. Like, this is ergonomics. You need to know where everything is in the car, and you need to sit just the right way. So kudos to CLA for getting that right. Kudos to the Lucid Air, at least, for getting that right. The Air, every time I get in an Air, I'm just like, if the software, again, same like EX30, the software is broken. Every Air I get into has serious software bugs. And I'm like, how is it that you have had this car out for years now? And I know that you've updated the software and the hardware. In fact, the newer cars have much faster infotainment, much more smooth. But like, it's still not right. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on there. Rivian, however, really good. I took the Gen 2 R1S2 CS last year. We camped in Joshua Tree for a night, EV camping. Amazing. I love Rivians. I can't wait for the R2. Well, the R3 is really R3X is what I really want.
You said it 100%. We have a reservation for the R2, and we were there at the reveal, but when the R3 rolled out, it was like my dream car. I used to drive a 98 RAV4. That's it. It's the same body style. It's perfect. But we'll deal with an R2 in the meanwhile.
Yeah, that's a good lease, I think. I definitely will consider. Right now, I don't need to buy a car. I live in 2 cities. I get loans in both cities almost every week. It's hard to justify insurance, monthly payment, or whatever, although leases are pretty good on EVs. But I would probably put my money down for R3X. But I have to wait and see what it delivers in final form. Like, but that would be my muse. I can't do Tesla anymore, not because their cars are bad or they're phenomenal. I still think that they're ugly, though. The Model Y right now, oof, that Cybertruck front end and that rear end, ooh, seriously, they weren't the prettiest cars to start with, but like, wow, ugly stick, beaten, ooh, so bad. Model 3 Highland, much better, but it needs the turn signal stock. I think they're adding that back. But anyway, I can't do it because of Elon, but that's just me. If you guys can, not you too, but if you listeners can compartmentalize this, kudos to you, but you're still wrong. You shouldn't support this company. Also, speaking of other great cars, Lucid, Rivian, solid all around. I recommend. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Who else is there? Are we missing anyone big?
No.
The Japanese are lost.
Yeah.
Slate's coming. If we're talking about EV trucks, but
again, Slate, and then of course there's Scout, but Scout's going e-rev all out now because they saw the writing on the wall and like, screw you, you're making a gas car. I hate you now. I'm sorry. Also, the way they treated me at CES last year, I don't want to deal with them. Like, they're just not. They just didn't give a crap. Like, I'm like, I know I'm not the biggest creator in the world, but like, treat people with love and respect when they come to see you at your booth for the first time and they introduce themselves as media. That was not the case. I don't think they've ever recovered from that in my mind. So especially now they're making e-rev, I'll check it out for sure, but that's not what I want. Or at least they're not sacrificing their frunk for their e-rev. So we'll see.
I was going to say one that we talked about last year at CES and the year before at CES, and they're doing a big press thing again at CES. Sony Honda Afeela, or whatever the heck it is.
Is that thing not 10 years old now and completely antiquated like Gen 1 EV?
It's literally like basically I was like, if Ford would be like, this is our new version of the Mustang Mach-E, everybody would be out there with pitchfork, because it's basically 2019 Mach-E announcement specs, but it's going to be $100,000 at launch.
It's got a PlayStation in every seat. Come on.
And available only in California. And I'm like, it's sort of like, did they create a checklist of like, how can we make an EV to fail in 2026? And they're like, okay, price too much, not great charging, not great range,
too much useless tech. Like, let's face it, I am all for tech and I love PlayStation. I worked for Sony for many years. I'm a big PlayStation fan. Don't worry, I'm not just PlayStation. I love the Xbox. I love Nintendo too. But look, this is a stupid car. This is really a completely this is not a relevant car in this discussion at all. In my opinion.
Yeah, we got their press people emailing.
Yeah, me too.
Like, are you going to come to the press conference?
They keep asking me all the time, come see the car. And I'm like,
We're like, is it any different? Do we have engineers or?
I don't want to sit in it like the average person at the mall that you're doing these things at and get a quick like walk around by some teenager. I want to drive the car for a week.
And when the teenager hops in the car, because we did this last year, we filmed a video and we literally just like, this is just worthless to put out on our channel. But we had a product specialist that couldn't answer any questions.
Yeah.
And then they gave us their tech demo in the car that failed repeatedly. And I'm like, I get it. It's not coming out for still a while. But you're Sony at CES.
It's a 10-year-old EV. Like, it feels like to me like it was a decade ago they announced this thing. And it's by the time it ships, it'll be completely obsolete. Like, look, we don't even know when it's shipping yet. Like, right?
No, and we actually filmed with them 2 years ago, the exact same thing. So then last year we filmed again, hoping for something different, and it was the same. So I think they'll just keep doing the same thing and drawing it out.
I think they're going to die. I don't think they're going to make it at all. Yeah. I mean, I think that Sony and Honda will be fine, whatever. But the Fila project, I don't know.
The Honda Zero, that saloon that looks like an EV Lamborghini sedan, that looked cool, and their SUV actually looks relatively normal. I have some hopes for that because, right now Honda, the Prologue is basically a Chevy Blazer with CarPlay.
If you want CarPlay and Android Auto, there's your car.
But there are other things. The Honda Zero series looks promising. That sedan is very radical looking. I still don't believe that that's what's going to be in production. And they're like, this is very close to what we're going to put in production. So I'm excited to see what they actually do. I don't think they're going to be doing an update at CES. So this year's a little bit light at CES. I know BMW is going to have the iX3 out in the courtyard or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
There's very few things to like. I didn't get much communications at all. And most of the companies, I didn't reach out to everyone to be fair, but most of the companies I reached out to because I kind of failed at planning CS this year. I got enough on my plate though. So that's why I stopped. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm giving up. But the point is like, yeah, I think BMW is the only one really on my radar. I talked to Mercedes, they're not going to be there. I talked to Cadillac, they're not going to be there. I mean, they're going to be there, but as part of other people's booths, like Cadillac will be at the Dolby booth, like for the Atmos stuff, right? Like stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, I'm going with Qualcomm. Thanks, Qualcomm. And Qualcomm is going to do a lot of Automo stuff because they're in a lot. The Snapdragon platform Snapdragon Auto is in a lot of vehicles today, including, I believe, a lot of the Mercedes and German cars. So yeah, should be good. But look, the Japanese, we could go on. It's pie in the sky. Those concepts we saw at the Honda, not happening. Like, I mean, maybe, but like, no, like it doesn't feel tangible to me. It doesn't feel tangible to me like the iX3 does, or like, like the GLC, which we know is a real tangible quantity with specs that make sense and that hit all, as you said, for the Ford thing, hit all the right boxes. That's the problem. Everybody can do all this cool tech and all this cool EV stuff, but you have to hit every pillar, right? And if you don't hit every pillar, you're not making a good EV. And that's a lot. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. Like, that's why Slate, I want them to succeed. But like right now, they're pie in the sky. Even R3X, I'm sorry to say, is pie in the sky. R2 seems solid to me. But R3X right now might not even exist. Like, in the sense that I'm crossing my fingers here for those who are not watching the video. But I want Rivian to succeed and carry on. They're my only hope, as it were. Like Obi-Wan, like, but let's be real. Like in this current climate, like who knows? Like it's difficult. And I want to acknowledge that for those companies making cars.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of interesting because like for the longest time, people, we won't talk about Tesla directly because they're so big or have been so big, but like the Rivians and the Lucids, the sort of talk was like, they have all these advantages because they are starting fresh and they're going all EV. Ford and GM, they have to deal with the legacy stuff. Well, right now, the current environment, it's like Rivian and Lucid are hurting, and Scout. I mean, like we sort of see with Scout, it's like we just got to pivot to do EREVs. And as much as I hate to see it, but like Ford and GM, it's like, okay, we dial this EV side back a little bit. Now we'll just sell a ton of gas vehicles. And I hate to see it, but that's the advantage of the legacy is like they they have that opportunity. And that's really what makes me worry about Rivian, because Rivian is making fantastic products. They have a couple of great products on the horizon, but the R1T, R1S aren't selling the way they were projected to be selling.
Yeah.
The Lucid Air is, even with all its bugs and issues, is great. And it's just not selling the way that they need to make it sell. And Gravities, it's like, we just don't even see Gravities out there. Like, I think I've seen
and
one in
we're
the
in
wild.
California, you and I.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in San Francisco right now. You guys are down in the LA area. It's like, we should be seeing these cars.
Yep. And they can only get so many $1 billion loans, or, there's only so many VWs you can partner with, which is great. But it's
I want to wrap this up on one thing, the ID Buzz, and, also kind of the F-150 Lightning. What bothers me the most about those going away is that I would bet, and this is business sense, argues in favors of what I'm about to say, but my gut argues against what I'm about to say. Is I wouldn't be surprised the ID Buzz comes back as an E-Rev, because that would solve the problem for many people, right? Now, I'm not anti-E-Rev per se, because I'm anti-gas, right? So that's what bothers me about the E-Rev. I like the idea of an electric car. This is really going to be, an E-Rev is an electric car. Like, you get all the advantage of the electric car. You get the torque, you get the power, you get the range on battery that's really solid, like maybe 150 miles or something. And then you get this generator that charges the battery. There's no connection between the gas part and the spinning wheels. And that means you're getting a lot of the advantages of an EV. All the regen braking done right, unlike the hybrids, like all of that stuff. But you also get, now, to carry extra weight, to carry something that you need servicing and maintenance, like oil changes and all that stuff. So it's suboptimal, and it's gas, and it's polluting and all that. So that's why I'm upset about it. And it takes up space. So that's why, yes, when I hear people say, well, if they made the ID Buzz as an E-Rev or as a hybrid, even worse, like a normal hybrid where the motor drives first of all, they have to redesign a lot of it. But E-Rev, I could see them doing somehow. Like, they could pull it off. Volkswagen's got the resources to make that happen. And so, but that's not what we want. That's like, you're faking it till you're making it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And people always say, well, maybe that's the solution. Maybe then it'll become popular enough that people will want a real EV, or proper EV, or battery EV, or full EV, or all electric car. And I'm like, no, we need to strip that Band-Aid right away, right now. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. And it's why it really hurts to see that the ID Buzz and the F-150 Lightning are going away. Because if they come back in some kind of modified E-Rev form, it's not right.
It goes back to, like, what I was saying is, like, taking the F-150 Lightning and looking at it as like something that can tow 10,000 pound trailers. If they would just go like, we're not going to go for that. Like, who cares? Like, it's not going to serve that need. If you want to take an ID Buzz and you want to drive for 400 miles at a time, it's not going to do that. And it doesn't need to be this giant sales thing that, like, it has to meet everybody's needs all the time.
Yeah.
It's like right now we're at like 10% of new car sales are EV, now 5% with the tax credit disappearing. It's like, be happy with that. Design your business model around that. Know that you're not going to solve every EV or every truck need with your one EV.
Yeah.
And just go for it and go like, okay, we're going to sell 100,000 Lightnings a year or 50,000 Lightnings a year, and that's going to be good. Instead, they were like, we're going to sell 50,000 this year, 100,000 next year, 300,000. And you're like, no, let's be realistic. Let's shoot for realistic goals and go with that. And the same thing with the Buzz. It's like, okay, don't give us 230 miles of range. Let's give us 300 miles of range, decent charging. And then all of a sudden now it's like, for that price, it's doable. But now they're going to go like, well, the only way we can do this is E-Rev, or maybe, who knows what they are going to do.
Well, and we all know, like, we're all the choir here, and not sure what your viewers think. They'll have to comment. But like, we all know that 300 miles is enough range, right?
Plenty
you don't
enough.
need something that can give you 700 plus miles, because we have to sleep. We all need to sleep. We all go like plug in our phones at night, plug in our cars at night, and then recharge ourselves. And we know that as long as your car has enough range for your daily needs, which 300 miles really is typically more than enough range for most people, that we're totally fine. But that band-aid of the couple times that you take longer trips, that you need that or would want that, we know that public charging is sufficient.
Yeah.
And that everything's going to be okay, but it's that band-aid. And I think you're right. If we could just rip it off, that'd be great. But like the fear of ripping off that band-aid is limiting a lot of growth here.
Yeah, no, I mean,
unfortunately.
it's true. I want to shift to the news. So we have a bunch of new phones from China because they're not stopping because, for them, it's not the holidays. Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year is going to be their holiday coming up. So we've got the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. I'm going to put a link to the GSM Arena. So we now know everything about it. It's exactly what you'd expected. It's got this massive 1-inch sensor for the main camera. It's got the 200 megapixel telephoto, of course, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide. It's super sensitive to low light, f/1.6 lens on the main sensor. It's got that great new, Light Hunter, it's called, sensor from OmniVision for the main sensor. Again, 1-inch. So that's, it's there. Now it's coming to the West, we believe, at some point. Right now, it's only China. It is the mother of all camera phones alongside the Oppo that will be coming soon, the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. We have the Find X9 Pro right now, which is pretty damn great as a camera phone. But the Ultra will push things to the next level, like the Oppo Find X8 Ultra did this year, which I reviewed. You can check that out on geekspin.co. But that only was China only. There's no sign right now of Oppo making these phones come to the West. So the Ultra phone. So that's a bit of a bummer. Speaking of Oppo Find X9 rumors, the X9S is coming into the rumor mill, and that's basically a mini flagship from Oppo. It's the same as the Find X9 probably, but it has dual 200 megapixel sensors supposedly for the main and the telephoto. So on a 6.3 inch phone, that's the same size as an iPhone 17. That's pretty great specs. Small phones don't really exist anymore, so you're going to have to make do with a 6.3 inches if you want a compact flagship. Not sure if the Find X8S ever made it out of China last year, so we're not sure if this one will. So keep an ear out for that one. We've got quick couple of news from Realme and OnePlus. Again, these are all under the same umbrella. Xiaomi, of course, is its own thing, but Oppo, Realme, and OnePlus are essentially under the same umbrella company. The Realme 16 Pro Plus specs are out. I will link to them. The phone is coming. I have a review on it actually arriving today at some point. I'm waiting for DHL. I can't tell you much more about it. I've got all the info, but the specs are out, so check it out. This is a mid-range phone with a 7,000 milliamp hour battery that has really good cameras. That's the thing about this Realme that comes out every year, the numbered series, 15 this past year, 14 before. 16 is coming. There's a Pro and a Pro Plus as well, and the Pro Plus is always like the cameras of a flagship for $350, $400, which is really impressive. So that's why I get excited about the phone. And it's a global phone. You can buy it in India and import it to the US and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. And then OnePlus, we talked about their turbo phones, which are going to be like their gaming line, basically, of phones. There's now we know that they're coming on January 8th while we're all at CES. Turbo 6 and 6V. And as we knew last year, they're going to be very similar to the OnePlus 15R, which in China is called the OnePlus Ace 6 and 6T. So basically, they're going to have massive batteries, 10,000 milliamp hours, which is insane. And then they'll have slightly lower specs than the 15R. So we're looking at a Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 and possibly a 7 or something for the other one. So lower, for gaming-centric phones, that's a little weird, but I think it'll be interesting. Mostly it's about the battery, I think, here. 10,000 milliamp hour is a thing now. I predicted it. I actually said it was going to be in 2 years, but we're getting there. Actually, this is a 9,000 milliamp hour, so close enough. And then we have a couple of other things. Honor has the Win and Win RT. Those are the ones with 10,000 milliamp hours. So those are also gaming phones. They're officially out with 185 hertz refresh rate. These are proper gaming phones from Honor. It's the first attempt for Honor to make a gaming phone. They have a fan, 25,000 RPM built in, very similar to the Red Magic phones, and they have the best chipsets, of course, the highest end. Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. So those are cool. Again, I think they're China only right now, but they might be coming to the West. Honor is available in the West. And then the last bit of news we have for CES is Moto teasing something coming on January 6th. So I'll be there. I've been invited by Moto. Whatever they're going to show us, hopefully I get some photos and videos for you guys. Keep an eye on my social media for that. We're not quite sure what it's about, but they did tease a folding phone. And, so far they've only done the Razr, so who knows what it could be. Final thoughts on this whole drone ban. Well, foreign drone. It's crazy, right?
It's sad, and it's like everybody's referring to it as drone, but it's like it's basically like everything from DJI. So like we have abandoned GoPro because they're crap.
Oh yeah, they are.
And switched to DJI action cameras. At CES, I remember 2 years ago, it was like the first Pocket 3s were out there, and like we got one immediately. And then last year, like everybody has a Pocket 3. Now everywhere we go in the YouTuber world.
I use DJI for my action cams and my mics, my lav mics. I do have a DJI drone. It's an old one. It's a Mavic Mini. It's like a few years old.
Yeah.
But DJI is awesome.
And my whole thing is like, I want to scream at somebody. I'm like, we don't need TikTok, but we need DJI. Like we got this band wrong. Like I really hope that somebody gets a clue.
You know how they have a twin hidden clone brand right now out there that makes an Osmo Pocket 3 clone? It's the same thing. So, but it's made in the US, probably assembled. So I think they're going to get around. That's why they set up that brand, I think. Yeah. They have one for the drones. I can't remember what the name is. And then one for the action and pocket cameras, which is their sub-brands basically of DJI, but there's no DJI anywhere in them. But if you look at the products, they're completely identical. And they only exist in the US. So I think that's how they're going to get around to it. Final assembly in the US, made in the US, done. But if I compare right now, the Osmo Pocket 3 is the same price in Canadian dollars as the US price because we don't have the tariffs up there.
Yeah.
So you save money. So we're finally at the point where in the past, I would always buy my Amazon stuff in the US and bring it to Canada because it was cheaper. But in this past year, it's flipped around. I'm better off buying my stuff in Amazon Canada when it's Chinese stuff. Like the knickknacks, the battery packs, the cables, the things, yeah. This is my concern about the regime and the economy we're living in right now, is that we are shooting ourselves as Americans in the foot big time. It's not just EVs, now it's drones. What's next? What are we going to give up next? Are they going to completely ban OnePlus, who makes the only Chinese phones we can buy here? Now we're not going to get those 7,000 and 10,000 milliamp hour batteries? What's next? Like, this protectionism stuff doesn't work. It's just sitting us back into the past, into, like medieval times as far as the modern world goes.
And GoPros.
Does America, does the US want to be a third world country when it comes to tech? Because that's where we're going right now.
Yep. And as someone who moved here from somewhere that didn't have great access to things, I was so proud to be a part of a country that was open to everything and really promoted industry and growth. And it's really sad that it's not the case anymore. And we don't have alternatives. We have GoPro.
Yeah.
For so many things.
Well, on that note, we should wrap up. Tell us all about where we can find your good stuff, your content, your social media, all that.
I would say just Google the Electric Duo and whatever comes up. But here's the caveat. If you Google the Electric Duo and it's DJs or musicians, it's not us. If it's about EVs, it's us. But we're generally like the Electric Duo or the _electric_duo. We're on Threads, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. YouTube is our primary. And we do not play on Twitter.
All right.
Yeah.
Good call.
And if you have a Mach-E or Lightning, if you're one of the rare Lightnings now, you can come join us on Ford EV Clubs, the Mustang Mach-E Club of America. I write for Girls Guide to Cars, just like Miriam sometimes, so you can find me there. And Patrick is creating some amazing EV resources on the electricduo.com. So If you ever wondered how many chargers are around you, you can find out now.
I'm working on
easily.
things.
Awesome. Well, you know where to find me, folks, on the internet. I'm at Tankgirl. That's TNKGRL, like the comic book character. Just drop the vowels and you get my handle pretty much everywhere. I'm pretty much everywhere except I am mostly active on Blue Sky and Threads and Instagram. So that's where you'll find me. There's also TikTok. I added 6ix9ine to my handle because I couldn't get my handle, and that's my year of birth. Don't be silly here. So TNKGRL everywhere, and then TNKGRL 6ix9ine on TikTok. So follow me. And then, of course, the podcast is at mobiletechpodcast.com on all the major platforms. You can go to that URL to subscribe, but, just type in Mobile Tech Podcast and you'll find us on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. So check it out. Subscribe if it's your first time here. I'd appreciate it. We have a YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. There's some videos there, unboxing, hands-ons, reviews, that kind of stuff. It's mostly tech, sometimes a bit of EV stuff, but long form videos there. So you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment, all that good stuff. And then if you want to support me, there's a Patreon, patreon.com/TNKGRL, like my handle, so Tankgirl. That has a video version that you get a day in advance every week for $5 a month. So that's the spiel. And, there's extra content. Like, we went way over time, so I'm going to slice and dice this podcast. And when you get it on video, it'll be longer and you'll get more stuff. And sometimes there's bloopers. Sometimes, FedEx shows up in the middle of a show and we have fun unboxing things. Anyway, you get some extra content on Patreon if you want to support me. That would be lovely. Patreon.com/TNKGRL. Please support if you can. And I want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And thanks again, Liv and Patrick, for joining me for this show. Really appreciate it. Good times.
Thanks so much for having us. See you at CES.
Absolutely. We'll see you in Vegas. And folks, I'll have a podcast at CES. So stay tuned for that. I'll have Liv and Patrick on again in the future, obviously. But until then, cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tankgirl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.